All right, so we're like a couple videos in. This video, we're in Studio 17, and we're going to be looking at our arrangement and making sure that we are good to go. And we might go even far as putting like a simple mastering plugin at the end just to level the sounds or bring the music a little bit more forward, if you will. So I'm not going to be doing anything surgical, but for you guys that wanted to see the workflow in Studio One, this is kind of the concept here. So I talked about a lot of things during this series, right? The cool thing that I like about Studio One is that the browser shows thumbnails, which is really cool. So instead of trying to second guess what the name of a plugin, Persona started this years ago. This was something that led me to Persona. So this been in here forever. You can actually, you can capture the picture, the thumbnail of the actual plugin in place of the words here. So that's something I thought was game changing for me. And I believe to this day, I haven't seen any dog that does this. Maybe by now, but I haven't seen it. But yeah, so these are like some of my plugins that I have, some of my favorites. Now, Personas by default will have a thumbnail already in here, duh. But third-party stuff, your VSTs that you bought over time, you can save. So like this one is it's not Personas. You know what I'm saying? This one's another one. This is Aurora. That's Isotope right there. That's not Personas. And blah, 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 blah. You do the same for the instruments as well. I have boatload instruments in here. Now, in terms of like the browser itself, the functionality of it, I'm not really a fan, and I'm just going to keep it transparent. I mean, it gets the job done. You can type whatever you need in here and boom. Type in the name of the plugin. That's, but, there could be some improvement. Anyway, we're not talking about that. We're going to go ahead and review the song once again, just to remind everybody and myself what the song sounds like. So, just to recap, we grabbed these samples. We started with going through Splice, brought it in, Serato, we chopped it. Then went ahead and put halftime plugin on top of that to give it more of a slow down effect, if you will. And it sounds pretty cool. And the concept is that you take a sample and you're not, just straight rip, even though you're paying royalties. I mean, not royalties, you're getting it royalty free. It's kind of like that's kind of not what it really is, if you know what I mean. Like it's royalty free in terms of like you could download whatever you want through Splice, and just as long as you are not selling the beat to anyone and it accidentally go viral or something like that. But then that same sample might be used on a famous artist who's signed to a label, and they have legal and more powerful influence in the industry, and therefore you will be in trouble, even though you may have downloaded that sample. You first want to use the sample, it don't matter. You know what I mean? Like, so one of the ways to avoid all of that is just to take a sample. Yeah, it sounds dope. Yeah, it captivated you, but you got to do a little bit more footwork. You got to go a little bit further. It sucks, I know, but that's just the nature of it. Or eliminate it altogether and make your own stuff. That's what I do sometimes. But for the sake of this video, I know that that's what everybody's doing, and it's super simple, actually. All right, so we got the beat in here. We took some drums from Splice as well, fixed it up, and the beat changed over time, which is the workflow. That happens a lot. You start out one way, and then as the beat, the more and more you work on the beat evolves into something different in the end. So that's kind of like what's happening here. All right, so let's listen to this. The rule of thumb here is when structuring a song, you don't want one part to be too long because it gets boring. The listener is wondering, okay, when are we going to get to the verse? When is the chorus going to end? You know, that type of thing. So you want to keep things relatively short, meaning even if your verse is long, 8 bars, 16 bars, whatever, you always want to do things in the music to introduce a new sound or change a pattern here and there, as long as it fits the song, fits the vibe. It has to fit the vibe. You can't just throw anything in there, you know what I'm saying? Then it's like you're all over the place, and like, what is the concept? There has to be a main concept, the main idea, and it has to make sense. So we'll do little things here and there, and just to keep the listener interested. So that's what we're doing here. So here's the intro. Kind of, it starts off, you know, slow, not much going on, and that's for 4 bars long. And then boom, 5th bar. So the next 4 bars, we introduce some snaps and the bass. We kind of come in right there. So I labeled this my verse. Right? So it seems that things are shifting every 4 bars, so to speak. Now, I still have this labeled as verse. Actually, this could be the hook, to be honest with you. So we could relabel this and say hook. And usually the hook is more so, gosh, I need to learn how to spell. The hook area is usually the height of the song. It's where the catchy lyrics are, memorable moments, the melody sticks out more during that time. It's something that's repeated, hence the name hook, right? We call it chorus as well, so hook or chorus is whatever. But the cool thing about this is that in Studio One, we go like -5. Yeah, for the sake of the video, you know, sometimes it changes. But my ceiling is there. I never leave it at 0 because of like this. Some systems respond differently, so it's kind of like a way of leaving headroom. If you leave it at 0, you could run into clipping on some systems. You know what I mean? So when you bring it back down to maybe, you know, I don't know, maybe 1. You know, it's up to you. And then the ceiling is obviously what it sounds like. It's the ceiling. The ceiling is supposed to be the cap of everything that lives in the confine of that space, from the floor to the top. That's the concept here. So as I play the track, I'm looking at the meters here, and then I can turn up the gain. Right? So I'm turning up the gain to kiss the 0 or kiss the 0.5 a little bit more. The reason why we do this is to avoid from clipping or over, you know, peaking and things like that. When you know you're peaking, you can see that it goes in the red here. With a limiter, you avoid that. And if you're mixing your music at a optimum level, decent levels or whatever, you know, not everything at 0. If you do that, you run into the risk of like peaking anyway, which is the reason why I kind of, you know, like I said, I do my adjustments as I go on the fly. And I've done this so many times that I know where levels are supposed to be, where I could turn off this deal and the song as it plays is not going to go in the red. You see what I'm saying? So I don't have that problem because I kind of know what's going on here. But I'm gonna turn this on, and obviously things are gonna get louder. Of course, that's the whole point. So you may want something decent to listen to in the car. This is the concept. This is not by any means professional mastering, but this is just to get your levels at a better level that pushes the song, make it a little louder, or give the perception that the song is louder. That's a term. Yeah. I don't like to overdo it. Occasionally, I'll see the gain reduction pop up here, and that's fine. But when you start overdoing it because you think it needs to be like super loud, then I mean, that's solely on you there. Let's see what's the difference between B and A. Let's see if we can. Maybe my mind's playing tricks on me, but it kind of sounds like the A brings things a little bit forward. But when I bring it back over to B, it don't seem like anything changed. That's my mind playing tricks on me, but maybe it's really doing something. But see, that's what I mean. Like, you may not even notice the difference. If you do, comment in the comment section. Let me know if you heard difference, because I really didn't. Maybe the difference come when you start messing with the threshold, these other knobs. Yeah, okay. I noticed the difference. The B it acted more, okay, so with the threshold, it's starting to take on that compression characteristic. Wow, that's actually pretty cool if you think about it. Because now I don't have to grab a compressor, because that's another thing that us mastering engineers will do. We'll put a compressor, before the limiter, just to get a glue effect. You hear that? Now the gain reduction is jumping a little bit more at me. We're at -8. And the rule of thumb is that once you start like gain reduction, that is where you would increase the level, the mix level. I forget that term. So I'm gonna throw a compressor in here just to support my point. When you start adjusting the threshold makeup, that's what I was looking for. You have to increase the makeup, because once you start decreasing it to make the song glue or push forward and get you're kind of squishing the sound. It's kind of what I'm getting at. You're squishing the sound, but when you do that, you lose volume to that. You know what I mean? Because it takes all of the peaks that was up here and doing all these things, and you take the compressor and you turn up or turn down the threshold, things just kind of come down. But it's giving the listener the perception that the song is louder, and it's not doing all these things, but it's also a way to control those peaks. So if something is like jumping on it at you here and there, I'll give you a case point. The scenario is sometimes bass will do that. They'll go up and down, and some areas where it sounds soft and then it jumps out at you. So usually we put a compressor on that just to kind of tame it or whatever. Same deal with vocals, because vocals are so dynamic, and it's vocals are, emotion, and that type of thing is human. Our voice goes up and down. When we trying to make a point, it comes up or whatever, and then you digress, you pull back a little bit at some points where, I guess you feel like it's not as of, I don't know, but that's just naturally how we are. So we put a compressor on there to kind of help tame those vocals and make it more louder or bring it together. You get the point, right? But there is definitely a such thing as overdoing things. You do not want to overdo it. The concept is to put a compressor on something just enough to get the levels where you need it, but it's not supposed to sound like a compressor on there. But sometimes you want it to sound like a compressor. So I'm not going to cap there. But anyway, we're not going to use a compressor. I only use this for reference. Also, the cool thing about Studio One, and you can see it, you have the option to see what the plugin is doing right here in the insert area. Check this out. So the threshold here is giving us that, it's giving us that indicator that it's working. We can actually really hear it. Also, the gain reduction also happens in the meter down here. So you can actually see it jumping. If you can kind of see a little bit. But that's not what we want to do. We don't want to squash the beat like that. I'll say you know what? It seems like A is more of a forgiving state. B is a little bit aggressive. That's what I'm getting so far, but it could have been because I switched these here. Yeah. So we just discovered that together. I don't use this limiter as you can tell. Well, sometimes, but not like this. So A is more forgiving, B is more aggressive. There you go. We figured it out. But you got to change the threshold in order to hear the difference. That's kind of the point behind that. So technically we have a good level. We can kind of see the RMS, maybe -5 somewhat. If you're into the K meters, that's certainly sometimes I do that. I turned on a true peak. Yeah, that's on by default. All right, that's really it. That's it. As simple as I can get this. I'm gonna turn up. Oh, I can't do that. I was gonna say to turn up some of the chords in this sample, but what we could do? We could compress it, or we can EQ it a little better. And turn on the dynamic. So the whole idea behind dynamic is that it kind of it's kind of like a compressor, kind of, but for EQ. But what it's doing is it's taking that peak or that frequency right there, and every time it hears that frequency, according to the threshold you set, it's gonna duck. Now, there's only so much you can do to a sample. If there's something in the sample that you want to bring up, you can. There's a couple things you could do to do that. You could also do. You can do what we can. This new thing now that extracting the files. So if I was to consolidate all of that real quick. And let me just bounce it into place. Right? You can come here to and separate it. I'm wondering what it will do since it's just vocals. There's no drums in here. Or is it? Let's listen to it again. Okay. There's no drums, there's vocals, there's bass, and maybe other. The other might be the horns in the background. So we could do that. Okay, now because we have the type of plugin on there, is not carrying over, which is fine. It's really that halftime deal. So in this case, what we could do is bring this track down, right, into the folder and I'll just label it that, the sample, right? And the other thing we will need to do is create a bus folder for it. So add bus channel, just so it could pop up in the Ranger window. So we can do things like this, collapse, expand, right? And okay, so this is muted for now. But what I want to do is put this halftime on this track or the bus, right? Deactivate it from here because now it's on the deal here. And I could probably go ahead and you know what? I'm doing it the long way. Check this out. Let's undo that. Take the insert. How about that? Take the whole insert and put it at the bus level. That way, at the bus level, you have the same deal. I don't know why I did it individually, but you have that option as well. And then we can just deactivate that whole situation on that track. Now, the reason why I did that was because now that we have everything in the bus, we now have other files that's supposed to be the same as this one. But this one is muted right now, which is fine because we just separate everything. So I'm not going to solo that. But now we have the option to mix a little bit better because we got stuff separate. So let's see what everything is. Okay. So that's the bass. Okay. So we want to bring the vocal down a little bit and leave a little bit of that. Right? Probably bring everything down. Yeah, that's better. So that's probably the best way to tackle this if you want to adjust things in a sample. I'm glad that Personas went ahead and decided to add stem separation in here, because sometimes what we've done in the past where like we play with EQ and some of the other tricks that Studio One has is we can go in here and play with this here, the splitter, and now we have the option to play with like side, like stereo. We can actually EQ just the sides or the middle because we have the option to split stuff. Take this hand and we split stuff, and then we can, you know what I'm saying, split the channel, split frequency, things like that. I use that quite a bit, especially in the mixing world, but that's not what we're doing at the moment. So we can deactivate that. We'll bring the horns down too. You know what? And I can paint it too. Yeah. So now at this point, you can do whatever you want. Take the vocal and and I can go even further and throw something on this deal that I like to use a lot, which is yak delay. I think that's what it is. I'm gonna throw that. I'm gonna drag that to the sends. You know what I'm saying? Control how much of that I want. Now with the Safari deal, Safari makes excellent plugins. Now, I went ahead and added that in there. And I have an affiliate link for all the Safari stuff. Safari stuff is amazing. It definitely adds, it certainly adds texture, and it's just amazing to have these things in your arsenal. But this is probably by far one of my favorites because it creates that creative, like immediately in the veins of, you know, music I make anyway. And this is a cool texture. I mean, I'm talking about by default. Like, I don't really go in here and change any of these presets, to be perfectly honest with you. By default, the first preset by default is adding color already, and I just usually just go with that. Now sometimes it don't fit, and then, you know, just take it off, but I think it sounds pretty cool right now. So now what you could do is, in this case, say you don't want that effect the entire time, you can definitely automate that. So I'm gonna show you how to do that real quick. So we're on this track right here. So what we're gonna do here is click on it. By the way, anything you click on, all you have to do is pay attention to what it's saying in a window like this. If it shows you, like, when I okay, let me throw up a plug-in. Show you exactly what I'm looking at. This window is the same as this, the little, what you call it, rectangular bar, control bar. Okay, so we're gonna look at it from here. So basically, when I click on a knob, you see how that says drive. Click on this, it says repeats. Click on that one. Nope, can't do that one. Oh, you can. As long as you see it correspond here in the control bar, you should be able to automate it. If it don't, and I've seen plugins where some of the knobs in there does not allow you the ability to do that. That means you can't automate it. In this situation, you can. I'm not going to automate the plugin, although I can, but what I'm gonna do is automate the send. And that's kind of like an easy way out. I'm gonna click this down here, and it says yak delay. Don't let that throw you off. That's actually the bar here that I'm activating. And to further show you, I'm gonna go to the send, and let's just rename it. I'm gonna just do it like that. So now it says yak send SND or whatever, and it corresponds up here. Anyway, we're gonna edit automation. So we right clicked on that, edit automation, and right now the send is at whatever level we set. Say I didn't want it in the first section, bring that down, and it's just that easy, just like that. So we don't hear the delay at all. Or maybe we want to hear right here. Let's go here. Yeah. Let's bring that down. I'm gonna put a note at the end just so it has a ending point. The reason why I do that is because if you don't do that, when you adjust one selected area, you have to have a start point and an end point to adjust that specific area. This is my end point. All right, so I'm gonna come back, and I'm gonna show you why I do that. So I lost my spot. All right, so we're gonna increase that. So you see, I had a start point here, an end point right there, and I just pretty much killed the first section of the introduction, and then I gave it. This is the start point. That's it right here. There is no endpoint back here. Now watch this. Watch what I do. You see that? It adjusts the entire thing. That's not what I wanted to do. So let's undo that. If I give it a point, an endpoint, should I say, then when I hit this section, and by the way, when you hover in any area, it's just going to take that section and just, yeah. Simple enough, right? So that's how that goes. I'm going to increase that just a little bit. Yeah, all right. I'm going to take this part and delete that because I don't really need that part to start at higher. Yeah, whatever. It's not necessary, but that's just kind of habit. Right, and then actually I could do like that. Take it out here in that area and then introduce it because the music kind of fall back. Then I could do it like that, and then maybe take it out right there. Take it out in this little area. I can get rid of that point. Do something like this. Or like this. Yeah. And then I can actually cut this. Is that what I want to do? Okay. Let's see. do care for it to be back right there in that area right there. You know what I'm saying? Give it a little variation, you know, because you could definitely chop. No, you can't. When you're dealing with effects that you sent somewhere else, so that this is just my way. And you could have automated. You know, you could have automated the blend. Yeah, that's how I would do that. Automate the blend. The blend is automatable. You know, you could have did it like that as well. So it's options. I chose the send deal. And hit the A button again. That's the key quick command. Another way to view the automation, you may have several automation on that one track, which is cool. And it can get kind of crazy when you have a bunch of automations. You know, you can come here and select the automation you want to work on, but you can also hit this button right here that just kind of expands every automation lane, and it is individual. So this is the first and only lane that we automated. So that's why we only see one, but it can get a little busy, and that's if that's what you're doing. But it's very simple. It's nothing to it. All right, what else we got? I think this beat is pretty good. You know, like good enough to send out. It said good levels. I'm feeling lucky right now. So what if we did something like this, just to kind of change it up a little bit? I'm thinking to chop like in little areas and then take these and reverse it, right? How about we do that? What if we did that? I thought it would be like somewhere in here. Okay, let's see. The command for that is Command R. I don't know what it is for you, but that's my command. I kind of like that. Wow. Now it's got me thinking, what if I just did that to this whole section? What if? And the reason why I'm doing it this way is to hold the integrity of the sample, kind of a little bit. I could take the whole section and reverse it, but what it's going to do is reverse everything, like from the end to the beginning. So I am trying to hold. What if I did this? Wait, I did that to the wrong deal. Because this is where the. That's why we got to label stuff, because it's easy to confuse yourself. Okay, so let's do that to this and see what happens. Hold that, shift click. Let's reverse that. Okay, what if, okay, we gotta change this to, obviously. Wait, so if we mute that. Let's work on this section real quick. Let's see what happens. Let's build a. Instead of doing that with that type of bass, what I could do is add a different bass. So I'm gonna take this, right click, and duplicate complete. Yeah, let's do that. And I'll just pick another bass, more of a synthy bass, kind of give it more of a variation right there. So I don't know. Widen it a little bit, so I'm gonna put a chorus on it just to give it like a, you know. Yeah, I like that. But I want to change how much this plugin don't have the option. So I could throw it to a, yeah, you saw that. All I did was just drag it down to a send, and now it gives me the option to put how much I want on it. So I'm gonna do that. Right. I'm also gonna put an EQ on it real quick. And we're gonna just do something like that. Yeah, I like that. And then all right. So I do like the bass in, but I try to be careful not to put too much bass because I don't want to fight with other things. But because there is not a kick in this section, I'm okay with leaving the bass on the edge. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how I feel about this here. Yeah, maybe I can do like that and then just fall back on. Just bring that back. Just give a little space to fill in to do what it does. And I'm gonna bring this back as well for correspondence so that I can see where I need to bring other tracks back as well. So about right there, and I'm gonna bring that back. And when you start hearing clicks and pops because you cut, you can do it like that. You know what I'm saying? You can do it to all of them at the same time. Select them all. Just clip the end of it as far as like, you know. Let's see. Some stuff. Okay, put it. Yeah, that's better. Now, if you wanted, if I wanted to like clear this out, the halftime plugin is not respecting these movements I'm making. I have to go into halftime and actually automate that off. That's how that plugin works, because when it's in halftime, it's like a delay, and it's taking information from like a couple bars, and it's processing it, and it's doing stuff to spread out. So like, for instance, what it's doing is taking me see how I can explain this. So say we start from here, right? It's taking like this information, and we're only talking about from here to this. So this is the section we're talking about, right? That's the amount of time that halftime is taking to complete a full concept. But what it's doing, like, this is the whole concept before something else it feeds into the next thing. But what it's doing is only taking this section. It's taking that and it's processing that I just selected into this area right here, right? That's how it works. And then it's taking that section and it's processing it and it's filling up this next area. So if that's the case right here, that means it's filling up here and it's taking the information, it's processing this whole deal. So when I make a cut right here, it doesn't know that I'm doing that because it's taking this section and it's processing that. I would have to cut this back here before it takes on to that next. So I could do like this. Let's see if that works. Let's mute those real quick. Yeah. So I'm not gonna do that. I'm just unmute that, but I'll leave it like that. Maybe I need to cut it before then. How about that? Yeah, you know what I mean? But I don't like how that sounds, so we're gonna keep it just like that. I'm not really concerned about that. If I need to do that, but I have to figure that out. But hopefully you understand that halftime may not even be something you have, but halftime is also one of those things that's kind of cool to have. If you were doing R&B, of course, R&B, pop, urban stuff, halftime is one of those, like, it has become a staple of, getting things, switching things up really quick, making it sound really cool. So yeah, that's what it is. So let's come out of this and just and going into that section right here. Now, obviously, there needs to be more work. Like I would do something. I probably would either extend this area or do something else, like start making adjustments here, because I don't want it to come back abruptly like that. It just sounds cheesy to me. It sounds like it was not planned or executed correctly. So we'll have to make changes, but we don't have enough time in this video to do that. So you have to stay tuned to another video if I post another video. But hopefully that these videos or this series was enough information that gave you the concept of how Studio One works. If you enjoy these videos, let me know, because that's how I continue doing stuff like this. I have been using several DAWs on this channel, but obviously the backbone is the Studio One. I shared quite a bit of things. We talked about quite a few things on this channel in terms of Studio One. It's just some things that we are looking forward to. And I would say this to my viewers that are looking at this video. I'm seeing progression. I'm seeing it. I'm not gonna front and just bash personas. The negative responses is actually coming from their I don't know, sense of urgency, so to speak, in getting to the things we've been requesting that they come in and add or make better. It's just, that's the part that's bothering some of us right now. And so there are some negative feedbacks. You know what I mean? But supposedly they have an agenda. I don't know nothing about the agenda, so I can't really say what's happening here. All I know is that, some of the updates that we see that are decent, and some of them are like, like, what is that? Why? What was that? What's that for? It is what it is. At the end of the day, everything that Studio One has to offer is just bar none. It's crazy. You may have a different DAW you feel that way about, and that's totally great. It's totally great. No one is knocking what you use. In fact, the concept here has always been whatever DAW you use is the DAW that you use. That's the best DAW all the time. If you know that thing backwards and forwards, then why switch from that? But I get it. Sometimes you get bored. Sometimes you just want to explore and you want to do some other things. And Studio One is probably a good place to start, or not. Maybe this was the video where some of you were like, "Nah, I don't like it." Everything he showed, I don't. Yeah, this is cool, but nah, I can't get with it. You know what I mean? So there you have it. My name's Ella, B Kultr, lifetime cover art.